Article 14, Proof. Canon 1480. Proof is the demonstration or production of one or more facts and evidence to support an argument, based on reason and logic. Proof therefore does not depend upon faith or trust. Canon 1481. As these canons of divine law, natural law, cognitive law, and positive law comprehensively prove divine law, natural law, and positive law, they stand as the highest proof of law against any other. Claims of inferior law. Canon 1482. The denial of valid proof is error in law. Therefore, any denial of the superior proof of these canons is automatically an error in law. Canon 1483. Any claim that the law admits no proof against that which it presumes is false. Canon 1484. A proof will stand good until the contrary is proved. Therefore, in the absence of any challenge by valid proof equal or greater than these canons, all men, women, and persons consent to these canons, being the one, true and only rule of law. Canon 1485. When anyone references, writes or speaks of proof, real proof, or complete proof, it shall mean these canons and no other. Article 15, Truth. Canon 1486. Truth is a fictional concept originally meaning the quality of being steadfast in adherence to a commander, or friend, or principle, or cause, or to one's promises. Hence true means in essence to be honest, trustworthy, upright, or virtuous, sincere and free from deceit. Canon 1487. As certain inferior entities throughout history have attempted to install and maintain their flawed model of reality, the meaning of truth and true has been corrupted to mean facts, exact and agreement with a standard or rule of the controlling entity, regardless of reason, argument or logic. Hence truth has become wholly divorced from consistent virtuous behavior to simply being adherence to standards and rules, regardless of whether such rules were deliberately deceitful and corrupt. Canon 1488. Given the original and essential meaning of truth and true is to be free from deceit and deception. Any definitions that attempt to imply truth or true to permit adherence to corrupt standards are inferior rules that are devoid of reason and logic and therefore automatically rendered null and void. Canon 1489. As these canons of divine law, natural law, cognitive law, and positive law are proven with proof, reason and logic without corruption or deceit, only these canons and no other may be regarded as the truth and true. Canon 1490. The rules, writing or beliefs of any man, woman, or person claiming them to be true or the truth in contradiction to these canons of divine law, natural law, cognitive law, and positive law are automatically null and void from the beginning. Canon 1491. When anyone references, writes or speaks of truth, true, or absolute truth, it shall mean these canons and no other. Warning, empty page. 2 Form. 2.1 Form. Article 16, Form. Canon 1492. Form is the shape, appearance, and properties of an object or concept attributed through valid action or ritual in accordance with the canons of law that follow this canon. Canon 1493. Form is never the object or concept itself, but the meaning and properties attributed to an object or concept through valid action or ritual. Therefore, all form is fictional. Canon 1494. The seven valid forms existing in law are being, person, species, animal, plant, notion and thing. Canon 1495. An object or concept without valid form has no existence in law. Canon 1496. Any absence, mistake, or error of action or ritual associated with form shall render it defective, abrogated, or null to the extent of the severity of deficiency in accordance with these canons. Canon 1497. Such claims as length of existence, custom, consent, and first claim have no effect in limiting any defectiveness of form. Canon 1498. Any form derived through action or ritual contrary to the prescript of a valid canon is therefore reprobate, suppressed and not permitted to be revived. Article 14, Proof. Canon 1480. Proof is the demonstration or production of one or more facts and evidence to support an argument, based on reason and logic. Proof therefore does not depend upon faith or trust. Canon Article 17, Person. Canon 1499. A person is a 16th century CE created word, but falsely claimed from the 6th century CE, defining a fictional form of property, rights, and title enclosing certain characteristics and appearances as the identity of one or more level 6 higher order life forms formed through a valid entry and registration and record on a roll. The highest roll defining the greatest rights and type of person is the Great Roll of Divine Persons, also known as the Great Register and Public Record of One Heaven. Canon 1500. The word person comes from the Latin word persona, in Latin meaning mask, character, or part of a play, and originates as a key element of the fraudulent treatise known as Corpus Iuris Civilis at the end of the 16th century, whereby all persons by their nature were falsely claimed to be subject to the jurisdiction of the Roman cult, also known as the Vatican. The invention of person from the 16th century enabled the enclosure of the bodies of living flesh beings and the alienation of traditional and natural rights associated to them, with person being viewed as a type of property which could be purchased, sold, seized, or surrendered by entering records into a type of register as a roll. Canon 1501. The existence of a valid and proper person requires the following minimum 9 elements to be present, being author, script, actor, relation, binding, part, actions, record and title. Author, also known as the principal, including but not limited to the creator, trustor, or general executor, and the holder of original authority is the term used to define the one empowered to direct the actions of the actor, agent or trustee, in accord with the expressed script, and 2. Script, also known as the deed, or covenant, or statute, is the term used to define the instrument of empowerment by which the author, principal, directs the actions of the actor, agent, for the benefit of the part, identity and beneficiary, and 3. Actor, also known as the persona, or interpreter, or agent or trustee, is the term used to define the one who consents to perform the part, identity, in accord with the script, deed, statute or law, and 4. Relation, also being the trust between the author, principal, to actor, agent, relation. Expressed as being either a general, public, or special, private, appointment, and where only 3 types of relation are possible, being self or another or not known, and v. Binding, also known as the agreement, is the term used to define the formal binding of the actor, agent, to the performance of the part, identity, and consents as to the direction of the author, principal, in accord with the script, deed, such as a vow, oath, acknowledgement, or seal, or signature on paper, and 6. Part, also known as the identity, and the beneficiary is the term used to define the fictional mask, or character to be supported by the actor, agent, at the direction of the author, principal, and 7. Actions, also known as personation, is the actions of the actor, agent, performing and supporting the part, identity, as stated by the script, deed, covenant, or statute, and 8. Record of event, also known as personification, being the formal written memorial of the event of the creation, birth, of the person through the previous elements of author, script, actor, relation, binding, part, and actions, end. 9. Title to beneficial interest being the property of the person created by the extract end. Acknowledgement of the record of event. Canon 1502. A level 6 higher order life form may be associated to more than one person associated with more than one trust. However, a level 6 higher order life form may not logically, legally, or lawfully be I. The holder of title for beneficial interest, beneficiary, at the same time as acting in the capacity of trustee, actor, or 2. The holder of title for beneficial interest, beneficiary, at the same time as acting in the capacity of executor, author or principal. Canon 1503. All persons may be categorized according to the three possible types of relation being the author, principal, to actor, agent, being, first person, self, second person, another, and third person, not known. I. First person, also known as a natural person and in propria persona, is when the competent mind of a carnate level 6 higher order life form as author, principal, appoints, records and publishes themselves by special, private, appointment as actor, agent, by some solemn binding agreement. Therefore, a first person or natural person possesses natural title to right of beneficial use associated with the first person, synonymous with such pronouns as I, thou, me, my, mine, myself, we, us, our, ours and ourselves, and 2. Second person, also known as an artificial person, is when a carnate level 6 higher order life form as author, principal, appoints another carnate level 6 higher order life form by special, private, appointment as actor, agent, by some solemn binding agreement. Thus, a second person or artificial person is synonymous with such pronouns as you, yours, yourself, and yourselves. And 3. Third person, also known as a legal person, or statutory person or surrogate person, created through a record on a roll, is when the author, principal, is hidden or not known and the level 6 higher order life form fails to properly express any competent in propria persona, first person, or second person author, principal, to actor, agent, relation prior to the commencement of any interpersonal intercourse. In the third person, the flesh and body of a living level 6 higher order life form is mistaken, and presumed to be, by default, the person in the statutes of law, or rules of the court as script, deed, and the judge or magistrate as the author, principal. Thus, a third person or legal person is synonymous with such pronouns as he, she, it, they, them, their, theirs and themselves. Canon 1504. A person may possess greater or lesser authority, powers, and rights than another. All authority and power of a person is inherited from the limits of powers and authority of the author, principal. An author, principal, is said to inherit the rights, authority, and powers of the father and mother, unless specifically deprived by will, or an author, principal, may be granted certain rights, authority, and powers by the laws of a higher estate or trust to which they belong or rightfully possess a beneficial interest. Canon 1505. All persons may be categorized and ranked according to four possible levels of authority, powers, and rights, from the greatest and highest powers and authority to the lowest and least powers and authority, being, in order of rank, divine, true, superior and inferior. A divine person is the purely divine spirit person created through a valid record and enrollment in the great roll of divine persons and associated with a divine trust formed in accord with the sacred covenant pactum de singularis caelum by the divine creator, into which the form of divine spirit, energy, and rights are conveyed, and 2. A true person is the form attributed to a true trust formed when an associated divine trust already exists and there is a lawful conveyance of divine rights of use and purpose. Known as divinity to a true trust associated with then the birth and existence of a living level 6 higher order life form and the physical version of the great role of the Society of One Heaven. And a valid life-born record. A true person can never be claimed or argued as higher than the divine person from which it derives its authority, and 3. A superior person is the form attributed to a superior trust when an associated true trust already exists and there is a lawful conveyance of first right of use and purpose, known as realty to a superior trust associated with the birth of a service or agreement associated with the membership of a living level 6 higher order life form to a valid Hokadaya society and the authorized member role of such a society. A superior person can never be claimed or argued as higher than the true person from which it derives its authority, and 4. An inferior person or Roman person is the form attributed to any Western Roman trust, and is the lowest standing and weakest of all valid forms of persons. An inferior person is only valid when the man or woman in possession of a superior person and true person consent to an enrollment of their name in one or more roles. An inferior person can never be validly, legitimately, logically, legally, lawfully, or morally claimed or argued as superior to a superior person. Canon 1506. A juridic person, also known as juridical, is a type of artificial person created by a lawful act and association of the persons of 2 or more men or women in accord with these canons. All juridic persons are subject to these canons and the following characteristics. A juridic person is always an aggregate of persons. Therefore, when there are less than 2 persons of 2 or more men or women associated, the juridic person ceases to have form, and 2. A juridic person possesses 3 instruments of formation, duly acknowledged and recorded, being a 1. Memorandum of articles as to its bylaws, and 2. A treaty or agreement affirming under oath those founders subscribed to its bylaws, and 3. A letter or declaration affirming both the treaty or agreement and associated bylaws and the key elements that define it as separate and unique, and 3. A juridic person possesses a body politic capable under the authority of its bylaws of creating new laws and amending existing laws as statutes, and 4. A juridic person possesses a judiciary capable of administering the laws of the society, and v. No aggregate of persons intending to obtain juridic personality is able to acquire it unless competent authority has approved its statutes, and 6. Representing a juridic person and acting in its name are those whose competence is acknowledged by these canons or by its own statutes, and 7. Only 7 forms of juridic person are valid: supreme, universal, global, civil, mercantile, union and inferior, Roman, and 8. Upon the extinction of a juridic person, the allocation of its goods, rights, and obligations is governed by law and its statutes. If these give no indication, they go to the juridic person. Immediately superior, always without prejudice to the intention of the founders and donors and acquired rights. Canon 1507. Excluding divine personality, all persons are formed through the physical entry, enrollment and recording with invalid rolls and association to valid registers listing the information concerning property, rights, trusts, estates and funds. True persons created by redemption of member number and enrollment in the physical great role of the Society of One Heaven are extinguished upon the physical death of the flesh form associated with the true trust, with divine right of use returned to the associated divine trust. And 2. Superior persons created by enrollment in the valid role of a Hokadayan society are extinguished upon the extinction of the associated true trust or the abjuration of membership to the associated Hokadaya society, or the suspension or revocation of a particular membership or service, or a fundamental change to the deed or agreement of formation of the person, and 3. Juridic persons created by enrollment in the valid roll of a Hokadayan society are extinguished in accordance with their own statutes and superior competent authority. No juridic person, excluding society juridic persons formed and named in accordance with Pactum de Singularis, Coelum and associated covenants and charters, may exist for more than 100 years, and 4. Inferior persons created by valid enrollments such as legal persons, also known as statutory persons and surrogate persons are extinguished upon the fulfillment of their purpose and intention, or upon exposure of fraud, or material breach of agreement, or presentment of a person of higher standing and authority. Canon 1508. A failure to recognize a valid and properly constituted and formed person or the claim of superior jurisdiction of an inferior person over a superior person or true person cannot ecclesiastically, logically, legally, lawfully, or sensibly be sustained and is therefore without force and effect with any subsequent judgment null and void ab initio, from the beginning. Canon 1509. A natural person attributed to less than a Homo sapien or higher order life form is automatically null and void from the beginning. Attributing a natural or artificial person to an animal, notion, or thing is an unnatural and unlawful act.